If your mind doesn't quiet down, if your body is tired but your head is still awake, if you go to bed at night and instead of resting, you start thinking about everything that could go wrong, this video is for you. Maybe no one notices. Maybe you smile during the day. Maybe you fulfill your responsibilities. But inside there is noise, a constant noise, repeating thoughts, scenarios that create themselves, imaginary conversations, fears that appear uninvited. Anxiety doesn't always shout, sometimes it whispers, and that constant whisper is more tiring than a shout. Today, I don't want to give you empty phrases. I want you to understand what is happening inside you. I want you to understand why your mind speeds up and how to start regaining control without fighting yourself. Stay until the end, because the last thing I'm going to say can change the way you face those moments when you feel like your own mind becomes your enemy. You're not crazy, you're not weak, you're overloaded. Anxiety doesn't always look like an obvious crisis. It's not always a panic attack. Sometimes it's something quieter, more constant, more draining. It's checking your phone for no reason, as if you're waiting for something you don't even know what it is. It's imagining conversations that haven't happened yet. It's replaying past mistakes in your head over and over, as if punishing yourself mentally could change what already happened. It's feeling a pressure in your chest for no clear reason. It's your breath becoming shorter when you think about the future. It's your mind never staying in the present because it's always projecting the worst. And the hardest part is that often no one understands what you're going through. From the outside, everything seems normal. But inside, there's tension, there's exhaustion. There's a constant feeling of alert. Your brain is acting as if there's a real danger, even if there isn't. And you start to wonder, why can't I just relax? Why can't I turn off these thoughts? Why won't my mind be quiet? Ooh, what you might not know is that your mind isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to protect you. It's just doing it in an exaggerated way. And understanding that changes everything. There was a night when the disciples were in the middle of the sea. It was not a calm journey. The wind began to blow strongly. The waves relentlessly hit the boat. The sky was dark. The noise was intense. And every movement of the water made the vessel feel more unstable. They were men accustomed to the sea. They were not inexperienced, but that storm was different. It was unpredictable, it was violent, and little by little, fear began to grow within them. While the wind screamed and water entered the boat, Jesus was asleep. Asleep, imagine that scene. The chaos outside, the noise, the danger, and in the midst of it all, someone at peace. The disciples couldn't bear it any longer. They woke him up desperately and said, "Lord, do you not care that we are perishing?" That question was not just about the storm. It was about fear. It was about the feeling of losing control. It was about the anguish that arises when you feel that everything could sink at any moment. Jesus stood up. He did not react with panic. He did not argue. He was not disturbed. He only spoke. "Silence, be still." And the sea obeyed. Perhaps today the storm is not outside, but within your mind. And the question your anxiety screams is the same. Do you not care about what I am feeling? Your brain was designed to anticipate dangers. It's a survival mechanism. When it detects uncertainty, it activates an alert. When it doesn't have clear answers, it starts to create scenarios. When it can't control the future, it tries to predict it. The problem isn't that your mind thinks. The problem is when it tries to control the uncontrollable. You start to think, what if something goes wrong? What if I'm not prepared? What if I lose what I have? And without realizing it, your body reacts as if that imaginary scenario is already happening. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, your breathing quickens. But here's something key. A thought is not a fact. A possibility is not a reality. Your mind produces thousands of thoughts a day, many of them automatic. Many of them negative by nature because the brain prioritizes threat over calm. But you are not every thought that appears in your mind. And when you start to understand that, something changes. You don't need to fight against every thought. You need to learn to observe them without believing all of them. Because not everything your mind says is true. Most thoughts that fuel anxiety are not related to the present. They are related to the future. Anxiety almost always begins with two words. What if? What if I lose my job? What if I make a mistake? What if I'm not enough? What if something bad happens? Your mind tries to get ahead of the pain. It tries to prepare you for a blow that doesn't exist yet. But while trying to protect you, it ends up exhausting you, because the body doesn't clearly distinguish between a real danger and one imagined intensely enough. If your mind repeatedly imagines a negative scenario, your body responds as if it were already happening. And then you live in a constant state of alert. But here's something powerful. Peace only exists in the present. Jesus did not calm the disciples first. He calmed the storm. And then he asked, "Why are you afraid?" As if to say, fear is not always proportional to reality. If this is making sense to you, like this video, not out of obligation, but because it can reach someone who is also struggling with incessant thoughts today. Sometimes sharing a message is part of the healing process, and we still haven't gotten to the most important part. There's something almost no one teaches you about anxiety. Not everything you think is true. Your mind is not a neutral narrator. Many times it's a dramatic narrator. It exaggerates risks, it amplifies mistakes, it replays painful memories with more intensity than they had, and it anticipates failures that never happen. Anxiety is not always a sign that something bad is going to happen. Sometimes it's just a hypersensitive alarm system. Imagine it like an alarm that rings even when only the wind blows. The problem isn't that the alarm exists. The problem is when you start to believe that every sound means real danger. Here's where the shift happens. When you learn to observe your thoughts without fusing with them, you reclaim power. Instead of saying, "This is going to go wrong," you start to say, "I'm having the thought that this might go wrong." It seems small, but it's not. Because it creates distance, and in that distance something new appears, choice. Perhaps you can't control all the thoughts that arise, but you can decide which ones to feed. What you feed grows. If you feed fear, fear grows. If you feed faith, calm grows. And that choice begins within you. Because anxiety is not overcome with a motivational phrase. It is transformed with processes, with practice, with daily awareness. It's not about ignoring thoughts. It's about learning to guide them. It's not about completely eliminating fear. It's about not letting it govern your mind. That's why I always say something. Peace is not the absence of a storm. It is direction in the midst of it. If you feel you need to work on your mind and spirit more deeply, I left some special material in the link in the bio. It's a resource designed for those who don't want to settle for momentary inspiration, but want to move step by step towards a firmer mind and a more stable heart. It's not mandatory, it's not pressure, it's a tool, because understanding anxiety is the first step. But training your mind is what truly transforms. And I still want to tell you something else before we finish. Because anxiety is not overcome with a motivational phrase. It is transformed with processes, with practice, with daily awareness. It's not about ignoring thoughts. It's about learning to guide them. It's not about completely eliminating fear. It's about not letting it govern your mind. That's why I always say something. Peace is not the absence of a storm. It is direction in the midst of it. If you feel you need to work on your mind and spirit more deeply, I left some special material in the link in the bio. It's a resource designed for those who don't want to settle for momentary inspiration, but want to move step by step towards a firmer mind and a more stable heart. It's not mandatory, it's not pressure. It's a tool, because understanding anxiety is the first step. But training your mind is what truly transforms. And I still want to tell you something else before we finish. Remember something important. The storm does not define the boat's destiny. The fact that your mind is racing today doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean it will always be this way. Anxiety can make a lot of noise, but noise is not authority. When Jesus said, "Be still," the sea obeyed. Not because the sea was weak, but because there was a voice with more authority than the storm. And today, perhaps your mind needs to hear a voice stronger than fear. Not the voice of panic, not the voice of what if, but the voice that says, I am present, I am aware, I can choose. Perhaps you cannot control everything that happens outside, but you can start to regain control of what you choose to believe. If this message spoke to you, write in the comments, God is with me. It's a declaration, it's a reminder, it's a decision. Subscribe if you want to continue strengthening your mind and spirit every week. Share this video with someone who is silently struggling today. And continue on the playlist, don't stop here. Your mind may make noise, but your peace can learn to speak louder.